sanctions are a soft lever of power, and people can find ways to evade the sanctions. So it leads to a lot of confusion, I think, on the part of people about how effective the sanctions really are and whether they're actually achieving any goals. We know also that people have a tendency to want quick answers. Sanctions are not a quick answer. They're something that you have to program in for years, maybe even decades, if you're going to try to use them in any effective way.
How do you see the strategy for international strategy between all the big countries to protect Hormuz area? And now it seems that Iran want to obey these orders, or how do you see this area and the security of the Gulf especially?
Well, I think people are pretty nervous about the security of the Gulf area. I mean, the seemingly rising tensions and confrontations, shipping in particular, is something that is very, I think, worrisome. But I generally think right now, anyway, that the communications are in place to ameliorate or lessen sort of a breakout event. At least I hope so.
One more question about what's going on in Saudi Arabia, the Vision 2030. Can we know about your opinion as a former congressman? How do you see this reform happening, despite all the problems, maybe small problems, maybe big problems, about some issues in the relation between USA and Saudi Arabia?
Well, it's a good news, bad news kind of thing. I think there's a lot of people in our country who welcome an opening. They see that as values that they treasure. But then, there are bumps in the road in this. It's not a smooth transition, and I don't think the American people are harsh in their judgment. Most people here feel very strongly about what we call our First Amendment to our Constitution. It is freedom of religion and freedom of speech, and freedom of the press. And so I think that is drummed into people in this country since they were little children. And it's one thing that the people in America really feel strongly about as part of our national identity. Whatever differences we have with one another, we are for freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and freedom of the press. So ordinary people in the street have a tendency to judge other nations on that scale. How are they on that scale? And I think that some of the freedoms, particularly with respect to women's rights and things in Saudi Arabia, are being looked at favorably. But then again, we have the problem of freedom of press.